It doesn't matter so much what decision you decide to make, just how you're doing it. Maybe when you're like, should I go to this school or should I not? It doesn't matter. What matters is whether you go or you don't, the peace in your heart, your approach to life. It doesn't matter which one you choose.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Right. Hi, this is Lara Jane, your host, and I have a super special guest with me here today. Her name is Nina, and I've known her for all her life. She is my child. And if you've listened to some of the podcasts, and I'm sure you'll run into it in the future, as I'll often talk about the wisdom I've learned from my granddaughter, and this is her mother. So we're just going to just chat instead of having anything formal, because I think she has a lot of wisdom to share with you. So, Nina, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Nina, and I went to school in early childhood. In high school, I thought I wanted to be an architect because I love architecture, but I've also been very drawn to children and seeing how they develop. And in it, when I was going to school, there was a lot of times that they would talk about, you don't say, will you do this if it's not a question.
Like when they're teaching you how to talk to children?
Yes.
Okay, so don't say, will you do the dishes tonight?
Yes. Do you want to do the dishes now or in 5 minutes?
So they're always having a choice.
Yes, they're always having a choice, and feeling like you have a choice, feeling like you have some autonomy helps you feel like you're in control. And I think that goes with self-talk. And a lot of times, instead of thinking I'm stuck here, being like, I choose to be here because it's the obvious answer, not I have to be here because it's the only place I get insurance. Or I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree with you. So we do have our priorities, and sometimes we feel stuck because our priorities are out of alignment. And once you step back and look at your priorities, you go, my family is first, my work is second, and start looking really solid at that. Then we're not stuck any longer. I'm here for insurance for my family, and it's a choice. So I 100% with you on that one.
Which I guess that kind of takes me into one of my favorite books that I've read with my daughter. Actually, I'm not thinking of the exact name, but it's by Dan Amen, who was like the first person who did brain imaging. And so there's a lot of psychology, but he coined the phrase ANTS for automatic negative thoughts. And
I like, yeah. I have those. I have ants in my ass.
When you hit your knee, like you automatically will kick your leg, but that doesn't mean that you have to keep kicking your leg. You can control it, you know?
It's a reflex.
It's a reflex.
You don't have to keep it in that state. Okay.
Yes. So to be like, okay, that negative thought came up, and in this children's book with all of these different types of ants, which could be the fortune teller or the all or nothing, or, these different things. Is that true? Are you sure that it's true?
And when you see the fortune teller, you're like, when we start going, oh, somebody's going to hate me because you're like when we're trying to predict the future based on something.
It's never going to happen.
Okay. Because I never read this book. So
yeah, it's a cute children's book. But I mean, just recently, I work at private school, and in this school, we are so lucky to be learner-driven, and we try to have the learners be able to control as much as they can, to have the autonomy to feel like, invested in what they're doing. And we've been doing this play, and one of the 6-year-olds wanted to do a magic in this play where she has a portal go to this ball, and others did not think that made sense. And so they voted, okay, do we want to have the ball or do we not want to have the ball? And most of them didn't think the ball made sense, so they voted no. And she was devastated, and she was emotional. She cried and went to the other room, and she was like, this is just not fair. I don't get to do any magic. So talking to her, it's okay to be upset. what you're saying isn't true. And to get over this sadness, you're not a victim. You are doing more magic in the play than anyone else. So what are you really upset about? If you think about what you're really upset about, then you can process it. If you have this made up, I feel this big emotion, my brain thinks it's because of this, then it's hard to resolve that. So being more accurate in your thoughts. I actually am not picked on because of this, but it's okay to have this emotion. I'm feeling this emotion. I'm disappointed. I wanted this. It got voted down. That's okay. And I think reflecting a lot, I mean, when we're upset, it's okay to have permission. It's okay to be upset.
Well, and I mean, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I definitely agree that it's even relevant to adults because we do get emotional and we think that that's bad. We think we're supposed to be grown up and we don't have emotions anymore. And so, you're teaching the children now to do things that we as adults didn't learn, and we're working on it hard now to try and change that self-talk and to reground ourselves to, is it really true? Because you can't predict the future. You can dream, plan, and work towards something, but we change, we grow. And so, I love that there's a way or people in this world that are teaching our children that, because we don't want them to be stuck where some of us have felt stuck.
Yeah. I think a lot of times when you're working with children, you realize we are, as adults, going through the same things. I have heard, a child one time say, like, they called me mean. And then a grown-up will be like, well, are you mean? Expecting the child to be able to get just brush it off like it's no big deal. But as an adult, I have a hard time. Like, those feelings are real, If someone calls me mean, I don't like that either.
I remember, and I don't know if you were with me at the time when I first was labeled stubborn. I never realized I was stubborn. I never thought about it. And then someone told me I was stubborn, and to me, that was such a bad word. But the more, this has been a few years, but the more I process and go, stubborn has got me where I am. Stubborn has kept me from doing things that I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so stubborn's actually good. When I think of stubborn, I think of someone who will never do anything somebody else's way. And I am that way. So it's like, I won't do it your way just because it's your way. I'll do it if it's something that I choose to do. And that's great. So, labels are not fun. And I can still get mad at you when you're 60.
Yes. Going back to dealing with some of the same things, I was surprised when my daughter wasn't speaking it. And at the time, I would say prayers out loud. And the way I had prayed before was from my voice. But when she didn't have a voice, I would try and say things that were applied to both of us. And the more I did that, I realized we are feeling the same feelings. When she's frustrated, she can't do something. And I'm I'm feeling the same thing because I don't know how to teach her. And having the realization that you're going through some of the same things just kind of gives you empathy instead of, why are they doing this? How can they be so stubborn?
Right. So I noticed you came with some notes, and I saw flowers at the top. And I just have to know what flowers is all about. Just one word. So what is flowers?
So I just had made some notes of some of the things that I have, sort of epiphanies that I've had through my life that I feel like have brought me happiness. And one time I had some flowers in my front yard, and they were beautiful flowers. They had this beautiful leaf, and I had propagated them several times. I gave some to my neighbor. I gave some to my sister-in-law. I gave some to my mother-in-law. And these same beautiful flowers were put in lots of different places. And seeing how they did in different environments. Like they really did do better when they were in full sun. But as I was gardening and thinking about these flowers, and that some flowers do well in full sun and some do really well in the shade, and thinking like people, there's diversity in people, and some do really well in crowds and some do really well one-on-one. And, everyone has their different talents, and I don't need to be the flower that's in the sun. I don't need to be a different kind of flower. I can say, I am so grateful for that flower that survives in the sun. I can be so grateful for that flower that's there, and I can just thrive where I thrive.
Cool. I love that. I knew that there was a time where people would say, well, I'm a rose, or I'm a lily, or I'm a whatever. And I'm like, I want to be a daisy. Daisies survive anything. I don't need to be the prettiest flower. I don't need to be the most fragrant flower. I need to be the survivor. And I've always wanted to be that daisy. So I love that because they do great in sun. They do great in weather. And me personally, I kind of like the partial shade. I don't do real well, but I still have that dream, just wanting to be able to survive anything. So I love that. And I love that we all have a different beauty and we all have a different thing that feeds us and helps us to grow. So I'm glad I asked because I love that story. I was like, so true. Yes. I don't want to be that flower that only blooms once every 30 years or something like that. But it's just all new. Oh, yes. It's just like, we all have that different thing. And those people in our lives that just bloom every 30 years, that's okay. They're gorgeous and they're doing their job all the time. And who cares? The bloom at that time is even more spectacular because it's rare. Yes. What's else on your list?
Well, that kind of brought me. So another thing that I had on here was that kind of went with it is, when I was in high school, I loved going shopping with a friend, and it was really just more about hanging out with her. And because that was the place we hung out, I felt like I was like at trendy clothes, and it was fun. And as I have gone into different stages in my life, like there's been times where I'm like, who cares about that?
I don't need trendy clothes anymore.
Yeah.
I need comfort.
But I also think that that everyone has like a creative outlet, right? And just because I don't want just because that one's not my priority, like people who they do gorgeous hair and gorgeous makeup and they find cute clothes, like that's their creative outlet. And I don't know, like I feel like just because that's not my, like to think of it more like, not that they're better than me, but that's okay they're that kind of flower, right. That can be their creative outlet. And that doesn't mean that anyone else has to have that same creative outlet. Just because someone's a painter doesn't mean that everyone should be a painter.
I agree. And I think just my very last recording I did, which I'm not sure all listeners are in the same order, but I talked a little bit about, and I just had a brain fart trying to give you history. So let's get going. So I do have Nina in the studio with me today. So if this sounds a little bit different, we're trying to talk to the same mic.
Another thing that I had listed on here, something that I think brings me happiness, is a lot of people have the fear of missing out, or they see someone have something and they're like, I should have that. I want that. And I think this is something that my husband is especially good at, is he's always loved nice trucks, but it hasn't always been his priority. And I remember our last house, our neighbors got a really nice truck, and it's the kind of truck that he would have someday, but there was never I wish I had that. He always was like, I know what that represents, and I'm not sacrificing that right now. I'm not willing to trade for that right now.
I love it when people have their priorities and they make their choices based on priority and not emotion. It's like I get into my emotion. I have to really step back and go, okay, what is my priority? Financial freedom, and then a truck.
Right. Or even if someone's making more money. There's a sacrifice to do that. Maybe they're working longer hours. Maybe they have to apply for new jobs and switch jobs and change that up instead of staying with the one that you're currently at. Understanding you have choices. If that becomes your priority, you can shift your choices to get there.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm all over the place, but hopefully my random thoughts are...
I think random thoughts are great. Because I have them all the time.
That's how I work. That's how I think, is random thoughts.
Like, I'll have a thought, then I forget what it was.
Okay, another thing that I had on my list is I put down hero's journey. But I also think at one point I had joined this church, and the thing that had it shifted in me the most was this, as they put it, this eternal perspective. And instead of when something happened being like, oh my gosh, why am I a victim? Why me? That everything was an opportunity to grow. And everything, if you think it's destiny, whether it is or it's not, if you have that outlook and you're thinking, what can I learn from this? What am I supposed to get out of this? That not only does it make it easier to go through, but like you're growing, you're progressing through it instead of just wimping out.
I agree. I know what I do, that same thing I'm learning, but I've asked for the cliff notes and for the syllabus many times and not gotten it. But I just know what I'm learning. Can you just give me the syllabus, please?
I think that's part of it, though. That's a part of the learning.
No. Did I pass the test?
Yeah. Another book that I had read that was another religious thing. It's called The Fifth Way. And something that I loved that he talked about was that it doesn't matter so much what decision you decide to make, it's just how you're doing it. Maybe, when you're like, should I go to this school or should I not? It doesn't matter. What matters is whether you go or you don't. The peace in your heart, like your approach to life. It doesn't matter which one you choose.
Both of them are going to help you grow. Both of them are going to give you what you need out of life. But the one that you go in the most willing and the most, I'm here and doing this, the more excited you are about the choice you made, more apt you're going to stay on that choice. But like the other day, I was at the doctor's office and they're like, well, what is the best diet for weight loss? And my doctor's wisdom said, whatever one you'll stick with. It doesn't matter which one it is because they all work. Which one can you stick with?
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's our whole life. That's not just dieting. That's what job we choose in life, what family type we have. Which one can you stick with?
Yes.
And feel good about it.
This kind of reminds me, we use a lot of educational apps. We homeschooled for a while, and there's a lot of apps that are linear, and you do this, then you move on to this, and then you move on to this. One of my favorites, and is still one of my daughter's favorites, which isn't necessarily supposed to be educational, but it's called Scribble Knots, and there's different challenges. But the thing that I love about it is it's like you can go anywhere. You can go to whatever world you want, and there's words to be spelled anywhere. It doesn't matter where you go,
whatever journey you want. And you're still learning.
There's learning everywhere. Yeah.
So is it mostly just spelling thing, or just, it sounds like it adds a lot of creativity too.
Yeah, it's actually, there's a lot of, Scribble Knots Unlimited is the story behind it. The backstory is that there was a spell put on this sister, and they have to get these star rights. And so there's lots of places they can go and solve these little riddles. But anywhere you go, you can go and solve a riddle, or sometimes she just likes to just set up her own thing and not even solve the riddles. But it has a huge database, and whatever you type in just appears. So this is actually a different Scribble Knots, but it's the only level I can think of right now, that there's an apple or there's a star in a tree and you have to get the star. So you can type in jetpack and you can fly up and get get the star. You can type in saw, cut the tree down and grab the star. You can type in wings. So it's so open-ended. It's not specifying like you need to be learning this specific thing right now, but whatever you're typing in, you're expanding your vocabulary, you're practicing spelling. So there's learning everywhere, and it doesn't matter what you do first.
I was just wondering, I know you started your intrinsic YouTube channel to show people how to teach your children at home. And what do you call it? You have a special word for it.
It's intrinsic. That's the type of learning. Game school,
Okay.
that you learned through games. We kind of fall under the umbrella of unschool or project-based learning. A lot of times when she'd have projects and things just tie into that. When she loves scripting. So when she would want to say the same lines over and over and over and over, we could take that as an opportunity. You write the script and I will say it. So let's write it down. Then she's got practice writing it down, and then I'm happy to say my lines.
Oh,
Sometimes
that's adding more into the learning process, more learnings into something they already wanted to do.
yes. Do you want a costume? Hey, we have fabric. How could we make this work? That you're just taking this one interest and giving opportunities that come with it.
So maybe we can put in the show notes your link to Intrinsic, so people who want to see how you can teach your children or grandchildren or cousins or whatever, they have some awesome ideas.
Yes, we'll definitely put it in there.
Okay, that we should, because I think everybody, even if it's just teaching ourselves, I learn so much from her. I call her Bug on this whenever I reference her. So,
we call her Bug too.
That's why I think. But I just wisdom beyond her years. So I really have always appreciated her way of seeing things, and I know it has a lot to do with you. So just giving her that opportunity to really grow. And I did a really good job at taking my kids to rest. And like literally the word or the meaning.
I have both. I wrote down rest.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But what that means, there was a homeschool book that was teaching from rest. And I didn't know what that meant. And I don't know if you've ever heard that the Sabbath is the day of rest. And I think before that book, I just thought you were supposed to sleep. I don't know. What else do you do if you're resting? And it seems like I've seen it other places as well since then. But that rest biblically was sort of pretending for a time that there was no crucial thing, like no deadlines, and just doing things in a state of passive,
So the day of rest would be when I don't have something making me do it.
Right. And she's doing homeschool teaching from rest. So it's not like she's like, take a day off. That was her mindset. Instead of feeling like we have these deadlines, we have to do X, Y, and Z today, that you just, it doesn't mean that you're being
lazy.
Doesn't mean that you're like, I'm not going to do anything, but you take it as it comes. Right now, we have the opportunity for this. Let's just do that. I have some friends that their day of rest looks very different than my day of rest. I have decided that working in my garden is restful to me. Not that it's passive and I'm lazy and I'm not using my muscles, but when I'm out there, I don't feel like there's a deadline. I feel like every day I just put another brick on. I put some more soil. There's always something to do, and to do it from the state of not worrying or stressing, but just enjoying the process of adding a little more to it.
Oh, I was wondering, when you started saying that, I was thinking about Stephen Covey and his Sharpen the Saw. And I always thought of that as what you do in your downtime. Is you don't really have to do this, but I'm making myself rejuvenate. I'm giving myself that edge to get through tomorrow better than I would have without taking this time off for me. And however you do it, it's not literally, sharpen my saw. It's giving yourself that ability to let your sharpness come back. Because we work so hard. Because we want to, we like it, but it does take energy and effort away. And so just giving that back, whether it's through gardening, there's some people that exercise their hour a day or meditate their hour a day, and that's their rest of that getting in alignment so they could take on the day. And I like that, that it's not that you're just doing nothing.
Right.
What is it that's helping you rejuvenate?
Right. And I found that this isn't just what I do on one day a week or to take a break, but the more things I can approach that way, the happier my life is. And things don't feel so stressful. Something that I have noticed that, my mother-in-law keeps like an immaculate house. But I have noticed that some tasks that I thought were like, you put on the schedule, I got to get this, I got to wash the windows this day. If she walks by and there's something on the window, she's like, oh, I'll just grab the rag real quick and wipe that up. It just becomes this little thing in the day rather than a big chore that she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some people are more prone to be able to feel restful about doing some tasks than others, but it just was interesting to see something that I thought was like a task be something that is just I pass by, I do that.
Like washing your hands.
Yeah.
It just needs to be done, and I don't need to do it now, and I don't need to do it in 10 minutes, but I see it now and think about it now, I'll just do it.
Yeah. I used to have a checklist for my daughter for like, you got to do these specific things. And her school is really focusing on doing habits rather than lists of things. And so I just recently was like, you know what? Let's just say, hey, when you change your socks, just use your sock to dust something. When you wash your hands, just wash out the sink. Let's just link some of these habits with things that you already have the habit of doing. And then she's actually doing more than she was before, but it doesn't feel that way. There's not a big checklist because they're just like little nuggets that are connected to things she's already doing.
Wow. That's how I wash my sink. After I wash it all out, it's done. And it makes a big difference because it always looks clean. Now, I need to learn to figure out how to do that with the toilet. It doesn't always look.
No, I don't know what. That one you just got to do when it needs it.
That one's a chore.
Unless there's something that I haven't figured that one out yet.
Oh, let's go ahead and wind down. I love talking with you. It's always a pleasure, even though I get to do it often. It was way more fun to do it here. So thank you for joining us. And for the listener, thank you for joining. I look forward to having you on the next show. So stay tuned.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.